Tracy Lewis with Stuff and Things, and yep, it is time for March Paper Pumpkin. I'm a little bit late in getting it because it arrived 4 days ahead of me, and I know that there are some supply issues and a lot of people were delayed, so I am very surprised that I got it this early. But we were 2.5 hours away, so I had to wait until today, and we just got parked in our favorite campground, Wickham Park in Melbourne, Florida, and then zipped down here to the very small Malabar post office. I have been warned against the post offices up in the Melbourne area. They had really bad reviews. So the lady was really nice who got me my package. Now we're headed home, so stay tuned for more Paper Pumpkin fun. Now that was us going over the railroad tracks. And I was told by Hub to get a picture of the water. So here we are. This is Highway 1, and that
Highway 1 on the East Coast.
Is Highway 1 on the East Coast. We need to specify that because we are so familiar with Highway 1 on the West Coast. So that is our water, and we just came from the Gulf Coast side at Fort Myers is where we had stayed for 10 days. And we stopped for 4 nights at the Thousand Trails of Peace River, and now here we are on the Atlantic coast, so we're just traipsing all over Florida. All right, I am home. We are staying at our favorite campground, Wickham Park in Melbourne, Florida. It has a disc golf course on it that we love to play. In fact, we just finished playing. And we have this month's Paper Pumpkin, Beyond the Horizon. The spot is Misty Moonlight. I see some, looks like pale papaya, perhaps. 1/8 inch trim. Ooh, some pretty flowers. And a bonus stamp set in this month's kit. So the flowers, I think, are the bonus. And we have hello, thanks, congratulations, a little note, thinking of you, I will always be here for you, a sprig, and some interesting rick-rack shape flowers. It looks like multi-part, multi-step inking. Celebrate, best wishes, sending you birthday wishes, and time to celebrate. Some leaves, some dots, a floral center, and more leaves. So we have a special color of tissue, which I of course will save in the event of needing something fun for a gift. I finally collected enough Paper Pumpkin boxes. I had to throw some away. It was very sad. But I can only store so much stuff. I see iridescent. They look like they're white iridescent versus clear iridescent. And I have to stop and go get a knife to cut these open. Alright, I actually used scissors. So this coordinates with the On the Horizon bundle and the New Horizons DSP, which I have been doing a series on. So we've got, 3 colors of envelopes. Oh my goodness, look at all the patterns. Whenever I see fully decorated envelopes, that makes me very happy. So there's that's a vibrant orange. Green. Very bright yellowy orange. And let's see if these vary. They're all white. So 3 of the mountain design with some labels and dies. Looks like another scene as the second design. So you could cut these in half and then use the back half. This will be a matching white, which is always nice. since our basic white is a little bit more creamy. We have some more die cut layers. Here's the third design. More die cut layers, little strips of different sizes, and then a bunch of fun sprigs, grasses, mountains, and dimensionals and double-sided dots. So I am going to not be doing the create per the instructions. Here's the instructions, here's what they look like created per the instructions, and I will get started on materials for alternatives. And of course, as always, I will be coming back to share with you any special techniques or tips, as well as unique supplies. I'll come back and do some mixing and matching, and at the very end we will have our showcase. So don't go anywhere. Alright, I am back. I have cut a bunch of pieces, and the first thing I want to do is take the backs. There are 3 of them here that I cut off the card fronts, and I want to go ahead and do some simple stamping. This cardstock is a little bit rougher feeling. So I haven't even sampled how well it's going to stamp. I'm going to use the complimentary secondary stamp set, which is the flowers. And here is the set. So I've pulled the first stamp as well as the secondary stamp for some depth. I am going to use Pale Papaya as the bottom and Calypso Coral. I went ahead and pulled some of the colors called out in the set. So Old Olive, Evening Evergreen, Calypso Coral, Pale Papaya, and Navy. And then I do have Espresso. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it today, but I did pull that out as well. So for the first card, I want to do some floral. I went ahead this time and added a soft, because these are really big stamps, I want to make sure that I cover them properly, and that they, since they're photopolymer, they have a soft surface to land on. I have done a bunch of materials, so right after I finish stamping, which may or may not be sped up, we'll see how much I do, I will go right into reviewing the materials that I have prepared. I even pulled some completed and partially completed projects, because I've already done 2 on the horizon videos recently, and I want to encourage you to watch them for even more ideas. I am looking for a piece of paper. Because we just moved and we have to move in 2 days, I have not been able to unpack everything because it just doesn't make sense. So I have to go get a piece of scrap paper to protect my black cushion. I will be right back. Alright, I am using a piece of my old Stampin' Up planner. I have a new planner, and I am preparing some videos to share with you guys. I've done some stamping with Stampin' Up stamp sets. Oops. And then I'm going to show you my coloring I have done on them. So that is in the works. And I have some swatching tips and demonstrations to do as well. I am using, for the coloring, a variety of colored pencils. Because I live in the 5th wheel, I have to be very careful with anything messy, so we get to use blends, alcohol markers, and colored pencils. Those are the 2 cleanest. I do have pastels, have not used them much for fear of the mess, as well as some pan pastels. All right, I'm going to go ahead and make this flower, which is the lightest color. So this is pale papaya, and then I have the highlight layer that will go down, and that is going to be Calypso Coral. And if you were curious, yes, the flowers, though looking large, do fit on the paper pumpkin blocks that you are provided. I just put that one on the bigger block because I have all of my paper pumpkin blocks used right now. Alrighty. I am not looking straight down, so it's a little bit more challenging. And there is a center, a floral center. I did not open this one, but I will go ahead and do the center in espresso. I've got some leaves already, and let's see if I arranged them appropriately to be put on. I did this just to save time using both on one stamp. I could have stamped that off. I am gonna just do a large sentiment. So with this extra bonus stamp set, it gives you a lot more options, especially for a beginning stamper that doesn't have a large selection of stamps yet. This is a really good kit to get. And I wouldn't even mind, just for fun, though I think this looks complete enough all on its own. I am going to use the Misty Moonlight. I'm going to use from the other stamp set. I'm going to stamp it off. It's very juicy, as you can see. And I'm going to go ahead and do this is to hint at sky. Now there I messed up. I'm not going to worry about it though. Whenever you do a partial, you need to always restamp. And I'm going to add, because I have the 3, I will go ahead and do that one up there. And there are some random round shapes that are kind of interesting. and I'd like to see those on here as well. I don't have a color pulled for them, but I'm going to go ahead and stop and flip it over. There's our first one. Looks very cute, very easy, very fast, beginner friendly. And for the second one, I will do the Cajun Craze. I'm gonna go ahead and I've got the big dot and the 3 little dots, and the large dot I will do with the pale papaya. I'll do vertical because that's my favorite, and sentiment wise I can do sending you birthday wishes. Put that on the leaves. I'm gonna do this in the blue. I like to start with my sentiment for my simple stamping. I did not do that on the other one, and I had to overlap, though I like overlapping, and I think overlapping is a good way to make a card look more natural. So there's my central location. I've got to re-ink these really fast, freshen them up. My dots that I want to see what they look like. And I will just work my way out. When you're in a hurry and you need a card really fast, just doing some random simple stamping like this, and you can trim it down and put it on a white base if you want. I like just the simplicity of it. If you wanted, I always keep my jelly rolls handy, and you can just quickly add some dots. I will tell you, on a prominent die like the Calypso Coral, it will turn orange, and if you want to have it be a more white, you can switch to using, I have one here, acrylic paint. So they now have these paint pens. I've already done a demo of these paint pens, the kind that I bought them on Amazon, and they have a thin side and a fine tip side. So let's see how these do. You have to prime them like you do. There we go. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put these dots, being paint, are going to stay white. And they also are nice and thick, so you're gonna get some texture with them, which I really like. So these are just tools that you can have if you're just starting out. You can pick them up and slowly build a little toolbox of fun extras that you can do to any of your cards. All right, and I'll just let those dry. And instant cute card. Again, this is our more elaborate one that I started with, and then a more simple one. And I'm gonna do one more. This is gonna be done in espresso. So I like using angles if you just start at an angle. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. I don't think I've done an angled full background card in a while. I really like how crisp this font is. All right, so that's the start. And if you wanted to make sure you do some going off the page, make sure you've inked the appropriate spot, or just ink the whole thing. It's not going to be wasteful. Ink lasts a good long time, and it looks better if you don't have any missing bits of ink. All right, so now I really like the little crosshatch. And I like how this could be an easy masculine card. This is the Misty Moonlight. I'm going to start with the dark, but I am going to go ahead and keep stamping. Voila, we have a very simple, and this is, again, I did not know with the text, it has a little bit of a texture to it, but this paper is stamping very nice. All right, so this is the end of the stamping. We've got these two cards. Let's get rid of my scrap paper. So those two cards, as well as a floral one. So lots of stamping options here. I am going to now move on to parts and pieces, and I even have some cards already created. So parts that I created, I pulled out from the Horizon dies. They are literally called Horizon dies. All the different pieces that make a good scene, because these are scenery bases that we have to work with, so I liked that. And then took and cut all of the, and one of each of the two of the three envelopes. And the reason why I didn't cut the third envelope is simply because this envelope is the exact same inside as the card, the third card. So I did not cut this one up, but you certainly could. And with the pieces, I took some scrap white and I cut a few white pieces. I cut the fence in white. I even cut just some random, like this is actually leftover evening evergreen from one of the previous projects, which I am going to show you. I better put lids on my inks before I get too into this and make a mess. To easily identify my spots, I always label the base and the top so that I can quickly put the lids on them. All right, so I've cut out some random whites. I did the mountain has a background and a foreground. So there's the background, I did that in white, and then I've cut the foreground in one of the envelope colors, which I will show you. I think of this as a hill, so I did that in green. This is water to me in an abstract way, so I did that in the blues. And I've even, with those pieces, went ahead and created a little scene. The house here I cut out of the Rick Rack Evening Evergreen piece that we had, and I've cut pieces out of the envelope. When I did this envelope, this was at the hill, and I picked the green, the back, so I get a choice of either or. I cut a piece of this green grass, which is used. The back of this is just white, so you can use and cut die cuts out of different pieces of this. The other side is just white. So to me, this is one of those sets that's just a many layers. You've got all these different pieces, so I did some stamping on some of the labels. We have this embossed piece, so I went ahead and did some dry embossing, just using the random dry embossing folders that I have. You will see them in a minute when I do the mix and matching. So I have this piece ×3 to use. We've got a couple of different label sizes. These two were too narrow to have anything cut from them. And then there's also this green. So we have quite a few pieces for the labels for sentiments. We've got 3 different shapes. And there's 2 different mountains. We have 2 different very large sprigs, which is unusual, large sprigs to use. And then, so we have a big array of all these materials that you can just add way more with the 6 or 7 die cuts I just showed you that come with the Horizons dies that coordinates with On the Horizon. I did not choose, aside from the inks you saw, because there's 2 stamp sets, I didn't see any need for additional stamp sets. I didn't see any need for additional embellishments. I have these white iridescent that will work fine, and then I also have the Pale Papaya 1/8 wide trim that I did create a bow. And you can do a variety of treatments using this. You can wrap it, you can put it in a V, you can put it in an S, all sorts of options. Okay, so here is the mountain that I cut from the top of one of the flap of the envelope, and on the back you have a green version of it, so you can use either one. Like I said, I have this white, and you can take this mountain and you can have it work with the mountains that are provided. We get 2 different mountains. We get a big blue one and then an evening evergreen one. Here is a big blue one to look at. Oh, here it is. So yeah, you can go ahead and layer these up together to make a big mountain scene if you would like. And now I want to go ahead with the very first one that I created. It's a little bit on the simpler side, and it uses the Rick Rack that matches the envelope. And I went ahead and just created a scene, a very loose scene, very artistic, and stamped on the bottom Time to Celebrate. It just kind of all meshes together, and you can add pop dots and pop up whatever pieces you want. This is my son. That's a good use for these 3 pieces, I think, with the scenes. So that is one style of card. You can add a bow, you can add some trim if you wanted. If you're going to pop up like I said, the blue is water to me. You could even change this to the green if you wanted, and then leave some of the trim showing underneath after you pop this up. Give it a very artistic, loose feel. If you want to add some of the grass, I mean, you can just keep building and building until you're done with whatever scene it is you're trying to build. I then took and made one of the scenes more of a formal scene. And then you could add a little fence. You can add the sun. You can do, I'm going to steal one of my sentiments off of a different one and just add, this is a piece of the artistic trim with the glints of gold. Add your rhinestones and instantly you have a card using the additional pieces from the coordinating on the horizon dies. I will get photography of all of this. Okay, so next I have another scene. I've gone ahead and this is a full 5.5 by 4.25. And just verifying that it is, yep, 5.5 by 4.25. And this has been dry embossed. I'm looking for the embossing folder that says what it is. It is the painted texture embossing folder. And see, we have this white, add that as a layer, it's already embossed. I then took the hello embossing folder, it's called Thanks and Hello. Add that underneath as a layer. I'm interested in keeping this hello visible. I'm going to close my window, the sun is shining in, sorry about that. And then I really like the red dots, so that is going to be below the hello. I want the hello to stay visible. I may or may not add some dimensionals to these at some point. Add some grass. I like a little note below the hello. So I'm going to move the green grass down. I then have maybe a mountain scene. I can either do sprigs. These are pretty large sprigs. So I could angle it and have it be something like that. There's a bow. I could convert where I have the sprig, I could change to mountains. I could even do mountains and a little more art. Add some dots and call this one done. So that's 3 different ones. I have one more to build up for you, and then I want to show you some other cards that I have created. So this one, I took the scene that is a watercolor mountain scene. I trimmed it down into 3 pieces like a triptych, but I wanted to make it a vertical triptych. Where this gray was pretty neutral, so I went ahead and that, in order to get it equal on the top and bottom to match the borders on the sides, I went ahead and cut off a strip of the gray, 1/8, but I could have also pulled off a little bit of this blue. And then I've got a hello, and then behind the hello I was thinking of some grass. You could make these all line up perfectly straight. You could trim off a little more of the gray and a little more of the blue and then have them purposefully crooked. They don't have to be all straight. I had the bow on here. You could make this as simple or as layered up as you would like. Totally up to you. You could make the background white on white. In this case, I took the inside or the back of one of the envelopes, the one that's pale papaya. So pretty much this is an endless kit, just depending on how simple or how layered you want your world to be. You could take this flower. Now we're spontaneous. This is beyond what I had planned. I could take the cover the celebrate, put a popped up hello here. I could then add some different layers underneath. And if this was trimmed down, which I could trim it down, then I could add any color of coordinating matting that I wanted. I could go ahead and there's actually 2 colors of sprigs. And we have this expansive white space, so you could do a couple of sprigs. You could even decide you want a sprig going horizontal and a sprig going vertical to layer up around the flower. And then I wanted to show you, we're going to get fancy now. You could, I'm going to show you some shapes in a previous video that I went ahead and created. From a scene, I created triangles. Another scene I used, you could use various sizes and do rectangles. And then the fancy option that I want to show you, which I showed, I did a whole video on how to use the gilded leafing. And you could use the gilded leafing, the one I have not done, and you use adhesive sheets. So this is the little whimsical trees, and this is all sticky. And I have my little container of very little. I have almost used it all up, but I will go ahead and show you really quick, and you can go watch a more elaborate video on using this gilded leafing, which again violates my must keep the trailer very clean. This stuff is really floaty, and it comes really tightly packed in a container, and I put hardly any in this bigger container, and it has lasted forever. So I like to use tweezers and control my application somewhat, and then what I do when I have some on there is I start sweeping it through the little bits on the bottom. I'm just grabbing a couple of the bigger pieces now, and in the end it actually all doesn't matter what size of pieces you use, it all ends up mushing together. So here I am just picking up whatever bits want to stick to my adhesive. I have used a variety of different brushes and find that for the amount of messiness this is, I want to control it with my fingers. So I'm not going to finish this because, like I said, I have a video that shows this extensively, and here you can see the start, and I just use my fingers to wrap and peel off the excess that I don't want, and it gets nice and flat. I'm gonna put the lid on now, so we won't finish that one right now. I will finish it for the photography, because my other pieces, these are finished pieces, they're already attached. I had hoped that I had not attached all of them, but alas, you can gold up any of these pieces using adhesive tape. I wouldn't. You can use the sticky stuff, heat and stick. Stampin' Up sells heat and stick. I just happen to have the adhesive sheets, so that's what I use. Either one will work. I don't know that you could put mono glue, but perhaps if you took a sponge and you wetted the sponge and you took a diluted version of the Stampin' Up multi-purpose adhesive glue, that would work. But this would be a great way to dress up your cards to the next level. I think that's all I've got to show you for today. Again, I used mostly the supplies provided with some inks, couple of different colors. I think I grabbed a Evening Evergreen here, is the only solid cardstock I grabbed, but you could grab whatever you wanted from your supplies. Don't forget that you can color. If you only own white cardstock, you can color your cardstock with any type of markers that you own. Blends do a great job over a die marker, but really any marker will work. You can even take your pale papaya. It is so soft in color that you could easily convert this to a blue or green using blends or the die markers. You can even put some ink, re-inker in a baggie and put this in, and it'll kind of come out like a mottled multicolor looking trim. So like I said, this is a great kit, lots of different options. It's pretty endless. Even the kit, the instructions, I looked at them. The instructions as provided make 3 really nice card designs. Lots of layers. It's kind of like a type of card that I would be happy to give. If I made them per the instructions, I would happily give them to friends and family. If you have any other further ideas, go ahead and leave them on the comments on the video or over on my blog. And any of your comments, questions, or concerns you can leave either on the video or over on my blog. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.